Welcome to another installment of Cooking on the Road with RTS. I, like you, am stuck at home, so I am in my kitchen instead of at school. My name is Christy. I usually teach at 57 and Level Up, and it's still very nice to be here with you all this way rather than not at all. I miss everybody a lot, so this is the next best thing. So today we're going to make one dip, and maybe we'll get to two, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be a little tricky to get to that, but we'll see if we can. But the first one I'm going to make is hummus. Okay, and maybe some of you are making this at home with me because you heard what we were going to do, so that would be great. Or you can make it later and let us know. We'd love to hear any variations you came up with or any other ways you came up with to make it. It's always great to hear. So we're just using chickpeas or garbanzos. These are Goya, but it can be any brand. I started out by draining the liquid they're in the can and rinsing them. Of course, you can use dry ones and cook those, and those have even better flavor, right? And so here's our bowl of chickpeas. Okay, you can see it right here. So I'm going to start out and take those and put them into my processor. I have a blender, but it's not working very well, so it's got some kind of a small leak. So I just decided I'm going to use my processor today. Let's see if we can get this into the shot for you. It's a little bit dark here today. Oops, actually I need the blade. I'm going to put the blade in first on this. Otherwise the food gets caught underneath it. But this is my blender, so this is perfectly good thing to use as well. But like I said, that one's got a little bit of a leak today, so I'm gonna use my processor. Okay, so I'm pouring in my garbanzo beans. Right now I'm gonna do the cutting of the vegetables. We're gonna be putting in, not vegetables, we're gonna do that in a minute, but we're gonna juice a lemon, one lemon, okay? I've got this kind of nice old-fashioned juicer that the seeds usually stay in this little top piece, but I think they're not right now. This is also like a super ripe lemon. So I'm going to use my little strainer. Oops, that wasn't very good, dropping it all over the place. All right, so I've got that. To take my garlic cloves, and some of you might remember this from class or some of the other online stuff we've done. A really nice trick on the garlic, right, is to take the clove and just take the flat of your knife with the blade facing away from you, okay? Let's get this really so you can see it. And then you just give it a smash and the skin will come off in a nice kind of easy way. I got this a little bit wet with lemon juice, so that's always a little harder. Let me smash it again because we're going to be blending it. We don't care if the clove is broken, and usually you don't care if the clove is broken, because usually you're going to be mincing it or slicing it, so if it's a little bit mangled, it doesn't matter. But I'm just going to slice it up, roughly. And I'm going to throw that in. It's a little hard to know how much. These are pretty small garlic cloves. So I'm going to use 3 of them, but it's really a personal choice. It's sort of like salt. You can always add more if you decide to, but if you do too much, it's a little hard to get rid of it. Like you'd have to add more beans and more tahini, and that's kind of might get a little bit difficult if you didn't have the ingredients, or then it's hard to control what you're doing, right? I'm just cutting off that little bloom end. I don't really like that little end. Some people don't mind it, but I like to just cut it off just right at the end there. Okay, so just, I'm cutting it up a little bit just so it does get blended up and doesn't end up in too big of pieces in this, okay? All right, then I'm going to take my tahini. This is the sesame seed butter, and it's a little bit sometimes hard to find, but it's become a lot less expensive than it used to be. And so you can find it not too terribly expensive. And remember, any store that you use, if they don't have a product you want, you should always tell them, because the more people they hear from that want that product, the more likely they will be to carry it, right? And so that's always a tip to get things into the markets that you want to be there. All right, I'm going to take a bowl out here. So I'm going to take about 1/3 of a cup of tahini. And tahini is a sesame seed butter. So it's made with sesame seeds. Actually, I had a friend who couldn't find the tahini. Oh no, she found it but thought it was too expensive. So she just bought sesame seeds and blended them in her blender and added a little bit of water, I think, or oil. I'll find out and let you guys know. But I was really impressed, and she was able to sort of make the sesame seed butter herself, right? Okay. So, but you do want to mix this with water because it's quite heavy. So unlike peanut butter, you don't really eat it by itself. Usually you always mix it with water and either turn it into a dressing or a sauce, right? And it gets nice and fluffy when you add the water to it. Will look a little bit funny at first. See if you can see that. I don't have a glass bowl. I should have been using a glass bowl, but so this one I put a little too much water in. I wasn't paying attention because I was gabbing away. So I'm gonna add a little bit more tahini to it because I want it to be kind of like a typical sauce, like a little bit fluffy, and have, you know, a little, it's gonna just be sort of a good consistency, not too thin. If I wanted to make it into like a dressing, a salad dressing, or a dressing for you know, maybe a marinade for meats, I would make it a little bit thinner. But in this case, I want it to be a little bit thicker. But it's going to be okay either way because the garbanzos are pretty thick, right? They're pretty powerful. So I am going to end up putting in possibly some water into this anyway, so it's okay. But I want to get it to where I know it's the right consistency to use. So if you ever go to like a Middle Eastern restaurant and have like shish kebabs or falafels, they always serve it with tahini, right? And that's what this is. And we're going to add a few more things to it, okay? So you can see that it's nice and fluffy now. You can see the consistency. It's, I don't know what to compare it to. It reminds me of something, but I can't think of what. Okay, so maybe mayonnaise a little bit, but not really. It's different. Okay, so now I'm going to add that. I'm going to add probably most of it. I mean, 2 big spoonfuls right now. I got a little bit of extra, that's fine, more. Okay, I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to see if I can get it so that you can see me process it, because that's always kind of fun. Loud, too. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up putting in some of the olive oil from the top, okay? So like the same as if I had a blender. There's an opening here that I can have the processor on, and at the same time I can be adding the oil in a steady stream. And that helps to do what's called emulsify, or bring the dressing or the sauce or the dip together, right? It incorporates everything in a way that helps it come together. What did I do with the olive oil though? Oh, here it is, okay. So far the ingredients that we've used are chickpeas, tahini or sesame seed butter, garlic, lemon, and now we're gonna add some olive oil. And that makes a perfectly good hummus, like by itself, right? And with some salt. We're gonna add some salt to it. But we can do a lot of other things to it. The great thing about hummus is that you can do almost anything to it. You can add any herbs, any other vegetables. You can make it with other things completely, like not garbanzos. You could make it with beets, for instance. A lot of people make beet hummus, and it's just made with beets and tahini and all the other ingredients, but sometimes people add the beets to a regular hummus. So there's like a lot of things you can do. So, but from the side you can see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna turn it on. I'm just gonna start adding some oil in a steady stream. And you don't want to add too much oil because it'll get oily, right? You want to add enough that it will give it a nice flavor and a nice consistency, right? Okay, so let that go for a minute. And maybe add a little bit of oil. And so far, I've probably added about, at the most, 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm going to put a little bit more water in here, or have a little bit of water in the case. And the more that you blend it, it's going to get smoother and really, really creamy and fluffy, and that's what you want. You want it to be light.
Okay, and then we're going to taste it and see what else we want to add to it, but I'm also going to try to add some other things to it. Like I am really into roasted red peppers. So they're very sweet and they just add a lot of depth and flavor to things. So I'm going to probably make part of this with red peppers, roasted red peppers that I have in the jar here. Okay, they're really good. I'm going to add this wonderful seasoning called 21 Seasons Soup that has just unbelievable things: garlic, onions, cilantro. I don't even know what all is in there. I can't remember. It's really good.
All right, so let's take a check on this. Let me get actually a small spoon and just see. All right, the garlic is pretty good. The lemon's good. It needs a little bit more oil and it needs a little bit more water because it's a little bit thick for my taste. I like it to be, like I said, light and fluffy. So remember, I've got this little third of a cup of water. I'm not going to pour the whole thing in at once. I'm going to do it slowly and see how much I need.
Well, actually, I did do all that because I could tell it's a little harder for you to tell, but I could tell looking at it that it needed that. I'm going to put in a tiny bit more oil so I can tell it needs a little bit more of that flavor. And then we're going to salt it. That's going to be the key. Right now, it's kind of plain taste. Salt and other spices.
All right, I'm gonna rinse this spoon off since other people may eat this hummus, and I don't want to be double dipping. Okay. Totally getting there. Totally changed it. So now I'm gonna add the salt. I've got my Himalayan pink salt, my rock salt. And you may know this, but the mineral salts that haven't been processed have a lot of good minerals in them, right? And sometimes we get salt from the sea, sometimes we get it from the mountains. So the Himalayan pink salt is from the mountains in the Himalayas. One of the most famous mountains in the Himalayas is Mount Everest, one of the tallest mountains in the world. And it's between Nepal and where is it? Nepal, China, and India are all countries that are surrounding the Himalayas, or in the Himalayas. Okay, I'm going to just mix that up again and see how it's going.
Salt is good on it. You see, there's a lot of tasting you have to do to get things right. And that's just the way it is. You can get a recipe and it might be accurate, but you're still going to end up having to taste it just to make sure that it came out. Okay. Needs a bit more salt. I would say that was what I put in was probably at the most 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm going to put in more. It's a little harder with these grinders to tell, but I would say if you started out with like a 1/2 teaspoon or 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt in this, remember it's in the whole thing. It's not going to be that much salt, so it seems a lot. Just making it, right? Okay. Then we're also going to, I'm going to add in my 21 season because I like that no matter what. And again, I'm just sprinkling it in, but it's probably about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. Ooh, this is so good. All of us at 57 love this sauce. I'm going to give it a bit of a kick with a little cayenne, not too much, but I like things a little spicy. So I'm going to add a little bit of cayenne. And just another little shot of salt, just in case. Because this eats up a lot of salt. The beans were low sodium, so they didn't have a lot of salt in them. And then you usually put a little bit of olive oil on the top, a little drizzle. It's really yummy. You can put sesame seeds to have that. And a lot of times parsley goes into this, right? So that's another thing that people will often put in that's very yummy. And I have some, so maybe I'll do that, but probably not on camera because it'll get late. But let me just move this out of the way. And I didn't have any pita chips or any pita bread or any chip-like things to dip in this.
So I'm just gonna use, and I'm always trying to stay off of those things anyway because I love them and it's very easy for me to eat them. So I'm just gonna make some carrot sticks. This is a great thing to be able to have around the house anyway, especially in a house if you're trying to like not eat a lot of carbohydrates, crackers and chips, and you want to try to eat a little bit leaner. It's really great to always have carrot and celery sticks around. Notice that I'm holding the carrot with my thumb just to keep my fingers out of the way, and so I can get my nice carrot sticks. And you can make those shorter if you want or longer. But the first part is a little tricky because I've got to get it, you know, it's a round piece that I'm trying to get flat. So then once I get that first cut, it's easier. But this one is hard, right? So, you know, lay it down like I'm doing and hold it with just like this part of your thumb. Okay, you can see it, I think, on the overhead. And then take the knife, really get the knife in before you start cutting. Then you can turn it to the flat side, so then it's easier. You still need to hold it with your thumb. And then you can cut your little carrot sticks. So see, these are little baby ones. And then you've got your longer ones there. We'll do the same thing with the celery. And this is great, right? Because you can do a bunch of celery and carrot sticks and then just put them in a jar in water in the fridge, and they'll stay there for a good many days. And then you always kind of have them ready. So same thing with the celery, right? I cut it in half and then I'm tipping it down so I can get a nice celery stick, right? And I can make them thinner if I wanted or keep them thick, right? So this is quite a lot from just one stalk of celery and one carrot, right? So let's taste this and see. Let's taste it with something and see if it needs anything. And then I'm also going to make my red pepper variety. This is so yummy. It's also great to serve with cucumbers. It's great on a sandwich, even if you add meats or other things. You can just have this as like your mayonnaise. I didn't double dip. I went to the other side of my carrot. Just want to make that clear. Really good. Okay. Excuse me, choking over here. All right, we get a little bowl out. And I'm gonna put half of this because some people in my house really like the plain hummus. And some people really like the more flavored ones, like with the roasted red peppers or the parsley. I'm gonna keep a bunch. I'm just gonna put this back on my stand here, which is always a little tricky once I'll have to get that blade back. And then I'm gonna take some of my roasted red peppers here. Just need something to take them out of the jar with. They're very kind of slimy, which some people don't like, but you can get over that. They just have an amazing flavor. You see, this is like a big piece of pepper, so just like tear some off. And what you do to get this roasted red pepper is you just roast it with a little bit of olive oil in the oven, and then you put it in a bag, and you char it. You know, you char it so you get it kind of all blackened on the outside, and you put it in a bag, plastic bag or paper bag, and then you let it do what's called sweat. And for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then you kind of just rub the black skin off of it, and you've got your beautiful roasted red peppers. When they're in the jar like this, they're kept in like kind of a water solution, so they're a little bit even slimier, but they kind of do get a little slimy. But so I really shouldn't be using that word. I should figure out another sort of culinary arts word for slimy, but I don't know one. Okay, so I'm just gonna
Post this. They call this pulsing too. Actually, this is post.
We don't want it to go for too long. And then this is when you're just blending it.
See how the colors change now? It's red. I'm gonna actually add a little bit more because I feel like it needs it. All right. Remember that our red peppers have a huge amount of vitamin C in them, more than orange. So they're really, really good for you. And they have a lot of great flavor. These are the bell peppers, right? The sweet peppers. Does anybody know how they get their color? I think I brought this up in one of the classes. So you usually have a green pepper, a yellow or orange pepper, and a red pepper, right? And how do you think they get the color? Anybody know? Somebody did guess this actually the last time I asked this, and that was pretty good.
So you said from the sun, you're right. So the least ripe pepper is the green pepper, right? And then it gets increasingly darker in a red color as it gets more sun and becomes the reddest it will be when you're ready to pick it. And that's where you get a lot of that nice vitamin C, right? The red peppers have even more vitamin C than the green peppers, although they both have a good amount and more than oranges, okay? So you know that the orange industry is very strong. All right, so see how pretty that is with the green and red? Yeah. I'm using the other side of the celery, I promise. So again, for me, I would put a little bit more red pepper in this. The other thing that happens when you put the red pepper in is it's got a little bit of water in it, right? It's got, you know, all vegetables have water in them. So it ends up being a little bit more watery when you add the red pepper. So you might have to adjust for that, right? Like you might want to put a little bit more of the tahini in, right, to thicken it up a little bit. Or if you're using them from, excuse me, I'm talking and eating. But if you're using them from the beginning, then you can adjust the amount of water that you put into the overall dish. So just a quick review. 1 can of chickpeas, about 1/3 of a cup of the tahini, or you can blend up your own sesame seeds and, you know, put with a little bit of oil or water in the blender and get a little bit of, you know, get a kind of a butter like we've got here. Then add water to it and get it nice and fluffy like this. This is also, so this is your texture that you're looking for, right? You see this over here, right? It's got that nice kind of like, it's light, but it's got some density to it, right? A little bit of density to it. And then you're going to add about 2 tablespoons of oil, or start out with a tablespoon of oil. That's probably going to be enough. About a tablespoon of oil, about 1/2 teaspoon of salt, right? I add a little bit of cayenne pepper, and I'm going to put a little bit more because I'm not tasting it. I want a little bit more heat on it. So I would say about 1/8 teaspoon of that, and then you can always adjust and add more. And that's it. 1 lemon and, you know, 2 or 3 cloves of garlic. And that's it. You can adjust it however you want, right? You can decide to put more stuff into it and make it different, right? All right, I'm gonna try this again, y'all. I'm hungry. All right, and we're not gonna get to our second dip because that takes a little bit more time.